Happy May! As the motorcycle roars on by, it's finally nice and warm here in the south of New Jersey, which is where I am. It is 75 and sunny, and it feels delicious out there. So yeah, happy May, welcome to May. This is your monthly energy report, and I am Little Fawn. So this is the first of these for my new channel. So what I do is I lay out a 4-week kind of theme, 4 cards, one for each week of the month. And then, and the weeks don't necessarily have to be like the calendar weeks, because there's always like a bloop, like either at the beginning or the end. But it's like, you know, the first 7, the next 7. And then I throw some tarot down underneath each of those themes to kind of give us a little more information on how to navigate those energies in a way that's for our highest and best good moving forward on these higher frequency timelines. The new moon that just happened on the 27th was a very, very potent new moon in Taurus. And I don't know if you guys felt that, but it was kind of like a like very grounded for sure, and definitely very much an energy because it marked the end of eclipse season. And again, I've said it before, I'm not an astrologer, but like I dabble. Like I like to learn and read about it. But that new moon marked the end of that eclipse portal that we just went through. So even though it was a new moon, it was kind of it was holding the energy of let's make space. There are things that cannot move forward with us. So if we want to seed something, which is what new moons typically are, we have to make space for the seed to have room to actually root deep and wide, to hold this kind of big expansion and these bigger dreams that we are aching to bring forth. So the deck that I'm using, the Oracle deck, is Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. She has a lot of lovely Oracle decks, and yeah, I like this one for the monthlies. I don't know, this one, and she has one, the Enchanted Map. I enjoy that one for the monthlies as well. It depends on what tarot deck I'm going to use with it. This week I'm using a very special tarot deck. My birthday was at the end of March, on March 31st, and one of my best friends gifted me a tarot deck that I knew that I was going to use for this monthly. So the Wisdom of the Oracle, Colette's deck, pairs nicely with the energy of that deck, which may or may not involve cats. It's so cute. So we are looking at the first, we're looking at each week, first, second, and third, and fourth week in March. What are the energy of each of these weeks? And how can we navigate and co-create within this energy from a place of curiosity and excitement, and just our own inner joy and gratitude of the gift that this month has to offer us. Okay, so, and I'm gonna put them here, I think. We'll see. I could be a liar and they could end up over there, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to put them here. So the first card is a change in the wind, which I believe showed up last week. I'd have to take a look, or last month. I'd have to take a look. But it's in the protection position. So it's saying that, you know, yes, there's a change in the wind, but it might not be happening as quickly as you want it to. So don't try to force it, or don't resist it either. Upside down, it's set like in the reverse position, and she actually has a lovely book that goes into a whole bunch of different kinds of readings depending on what your question is. But for the overall energy of it, I remember I remember this card because it is that beautiful zebra with that beautiful little gazebo on top, and I'm pretty sure I called it a gazebra. or a gazebo, one or the other. But this isn't just a run-of-the-mill change. This is like a big change into something different, into something that's uniquely yours. And even though we're all shifting as a collective, each one of us co-creates that shift by embracing the shifts that are happening for us within us. Because the only way, again, to affect a positive change outside of us is to actually facilitate that change and calibrate those new frequencies within us so that we can emanate, and then that can reflect. The reflection is a direct result of the projection. So change in the wind and the protection for the first week is just saying, and coming out of the new moon, it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, I did it. Let's do it. I'm ready. Plant the seed. Watch it grow. But we are in Taurus, and Taurus is plodding. It's earthy. It's very grounded. So there won't be any rushing this change. The numerology is 12, so it's like we are bringing heaven down to earth. We are heaven on earth. So the elements are all coming together, but we need to let them, still give them time to work for us instead of insisting that they be what we think they should be. Allow them to alchemize and to generate that kind of magic that they actually are, because your intentions, when you surrender them to spirit and you co-create with spirit, the outcome is far greater than anything you could do that is like decided by your very third dimensional mind space. And then the next week after that is the round and round card. And when it's upside down, it's kind of like a hamster wheel. So again, we want to be mindful of these energies, right? They're energies of the week. So try, coming into May, try not to move too fast. Try not to insist or resist. You know what I mean? Just choose your frequency, pulse it out there, and trust that with each pulse you create space for a nice little glide to happen, instead of like, you know, getting the machete and taking stuff down. But that round and round is saying, if you push or if you resist, there will be a chance that you slide back into old patterns and old habits. And I just did the channeled report that I just put up right before the weekend, I think Thursday or Friday. They were talking about kind of how in the third dimension it's linear, it's dualistic. So you start at point A and you get to point B. But because we're actually multidimensional beings, from point A to point B, you have complete freedom with which to take that path. It's very rarely, as we know, straight. But also, there are wheels of completion. So even though it's like, hey, this is flat, the line is flat, but also in our third dimensionality, there's an element of, there are cycles that are moving through and ending, and new ones begin. And if you're in a cycle and you don't learn what you need to know, it will repeat back on itself. And what happens is, you know, the ball can't go forward because you're effectively moving like this, and then oops, and then like that, and here we go again, oh nope, still didn't get it, and then you go back. And so it's like running in place, hamster wheel, what I like to call it. Whereas if you can extract what you're supposed to extract and simply accept truth as truth, and not try to kind of manipulate it into a way that feeds a narrative you would prefer. We want to move into narratives that we choose and that we prefer, but you can't get there until you see the truth that's actually around you now. And so this is saying, see that, so that instead of doing ba-da-da-da, wah-wah, that's the technical name, you can actually begin to roll forward down that line. And then ultimately, again, as a multidimensional being, what happens is that wheel, the more we shed and the more we evolve, even that wheel becomes a spiral that then moves you up closer to your source point frequency, to your higher vibrational spectrum and field that you can play in instead of being like, oh, down here. So just be mindful first couple weeks. Again, Taurus, it ain't fast. I'm an Aries. We like it fast, but Taurus is like, slow down, because when we get to the third week, we have this beautiful card of come to the edge. And she's just standing there, perched, like, it's very similar to the energy of the Fool in the tarot deck, where she's generating this energy of love, that there's hearts cascading around her that are coming from her, and almost like, are they coming from her, flowing to her? And it's like, it's both. So she's at the edge, and she's not afraid of the edge, because she has, you know, set her intention. She's learned her lessons and cleared a path for herself so that she can pulse and glide. So she knows that she can take that leap. So come to the edge. And again, you don't necessarily have to take a flying leap, like, woohoo, finally, thank God, let's go. Like, sometimes that's fun and cool, but given the energy around it, and it'll be interesting to see what the tarot says, it's likely that you come to the edge and you take a look, like, what is this new horizon? And what am I actually aiming for? What is that kind of long-term goal? And then where is the first leap that makes sense? Because very rarely do we go from, you know, like a low, it's like why when I do energy work, it's like you don't want to do something that's going to take you 0 to 100 miles an hour, because you can't sustain 100 miles an hour from your starting point. It'll snap back. And then a lot of times that's where you get people who will have energy work done and have, like, we'll say adverse reactions, like, oh, I had a massive headache, or I had a massive this. Well, it's like, take it in the pieces that are the digestible pieces, so that you can assimilate and integrate and maintain and sustain, because then you build on that. And then then when you get to that 100 miles an hour, it's like easy peasy, because you worked your way up to being able to hold that higher frequency. And then the last week is time to go. And yeah, she's on this kind of floating bridge. I love images of pathways. I always have, like, especially when there's fog and you can't quite see where it is, and it's like, ooh, it just piques the curiosity. But she's headed to a new portal, but you can't get there if you're carrying all that old stuff. So looking at them across the board, it says to me, don't rush, handle your business, come to the precipice, and use that precipice twofold, to honor what has come before and who you were before, and all of those lessons and all of the mastery that you gained within those experiences, so that you can then let them go, like those rose petals, like those hearts. Let them go and turn and face the portal, and then you're able to move through it cleanly, and in a way where nothing's going to tug you back or yank you back. You just kind of stand within your own source point, frequency, harmonic, that is the truth of your soul being, and you let that kind of just guide you forward. So it looks like May is going to be simultaneously, potentially a little frustrating, but ultimately very cool. And we're still in that energy of ending to begin. Oh, this light, it's so funny, the little light on here, and it's sunny out, so it's okay. But the light on this little baby ring that I have, my little $14 light, sometimes it gets tired and it just shuts itself off. Okay, so on to the tarot. And this deck that we are using is the deck that my friend Melissa got me. And it's Paws Tarot. The future is in your paws. And it is adorable, cats winning. And let's see. Oh, maybe that's better. Let's see. I'll just open it up. There's a glare. It's okay because it's sun. Get that vitamin D sideways. Anyway, So yeah, they're cats. And the amazing thing about this deck for me is that it's very chatty, like surprisingly so, because some might be like, oh, it's kind of a novelty deck. But then, like, take for example, what people usually call the bad cards. Like, this is the Eight of Swords. And when I see this, it just makes me laugh because he's tangled up in yarn, but like he did it to himself. And when you look at it, you're like, "Aw, kitty," and it makes those messages so much more easily digested or digestible, integrate, like whatever it is, because these little kitties are like wah wah wah. It just makes me laugh. Like, look, here we have the death card. Why you gotta make death card the black cat? But it's so funny. And then the little, like, he did. But it's just the coolest, cutest. It might be one of the most fun decks I've played with. So these little kitties are going to give us our advice for May, which is probably perfect considering what has shown up in the oracle cards. So I'm just going to lay down a few and see what kind of pause-tastic wisdom these little guys have. Okay, and again, I'm gonna put them all up here so that you can see them. Sometimes I find it very helpful to read them in a lot of different ways. When you do the spread where you have the oracle cards at the top anchoring the week and then the cards down, you can read them down, but sometimes reading them across or from the center out, because I teach how to read tarot too, it's like I want to bring that element into these videos and just say I'm a big fan of not worrying about guidebooks in the beginning because it can be overwhelming and then subsequently frustrating, and then it can be a deterrent, like, oh, there's 78 cards, it's too much. Just play with them. Just grab your journal, lay them, ask a question. Your answers are only as good as your question, so make your questions a little deeper, a little less superficial. I mean, you can play with superficial just to kind of get a feel for stuff, but allow yourself to go deep with them and use them for self-reflection and clarity. And look at the imagery. Most decks have very specific, deliberate, clear imagery, and if you can put yourself in the picture, describe what's happening, how does it make you feel, just like write about that. And if you're doing a spread like I am today, you can start where your eye goes first. Don't worry about, well, this is the first card and this is the second card and I have to do them in order. And like, yes, you're gonna get to that eventually, but go where your eye goes and then see how things kind of unfold from there. I find that's a much more helpful and much more true to you way to do it. And then go into the book and get additional, just think of the guidebooks as a different lens. You know what I mean? Somebody like talking to a friend and you go, okay, I'm not sure what this means. And then you open up the book and let your friend tell you, like, hey, in our experience, this usually means kind of this. And so play with them that way. But for now, I'm going to read them right down each. A change in the wind, we have the 10 of Cups, which is a beautiful card. And then right underneath it, we have the 9 of Swords, which in this deck, and even though they're here, I'm just going to put it up. This card would normally not be a favorite card, but like, he's like afraid of his shadow, and it's so cute. Normally it would be like a super dark card, but it's, again, much more palatable when it's kitten. And then at the bottom we have that 10 of Pentacles upside down. So when I look at this with that change in the wind upside down, it seems to me that there is this kind of happy ending. And like, endings aren't really real in the sense of like, hey, I've arrived. and then you stay still. We're constantly in motion. We're constantly creating new cycles. So there's always new beginnings and always new endings. And even if you get to a happy ending, ultimately it's also another new beginning, because the soul is constantly seeking to learn more and to evolve and to experience and to express. So, but this happy ending, it's to me, it's saying like, hey, it's there. Trust in it. Because otherwise, when you find yourself in the insistence and resistance gridlock that you create for yourself, that Nine of Swords, you'll create shadows where they don't exist. We all do it, where some dumb thing happens, like you text somebody and then they don't text you back. And you think, oh my God, you start to like question everything. And it could be the most basic text in the world, you know what I mean? But all of a sudden you did something wrong. Oh my gosh, they're mad at me now or whatever. And that's that Nine of Swords, where you're creating narratives that aren't actually there. They only exist in your head. So when you do that, that Ten of Pentacles upside down, when you do that, you flip the picture. You kind of, you shatter the mirror and everything's all craggy and broken and shards and jagged and scary and distorted. And that's not the truth of the picture. The truth of the picture is that Ten of Cups, which is that beautiful rainbow. And you know, it's a feeling of happiness that is, it's heart-centered, which is, that's when we talk about sustainability, that is sustainability. If you have that emanating and vibrating from within you, that is something that you can maintain. And if you allow yourself to trust in that picture this month, in spite of maybe your outer picture not yet reflecting it, it will have no choice but to begin to shift and form around you. And when you get there, because it is heart-centered fulfillment, you are creating a stable base for sustaining, because you're not just after money or after success or after, you know, whatever else one goes after. That's kind of a symptom of the true fulfillment. And I say symptoms can also be good. Like having a lot of money is a symptom of success, which is also a symptom of fulfillment, but they can be hollow if they're not generated from that heart space of just true contentment and fulfillment. So watch the stories you tell this first week, and there's no need to cultivate old narratives, fear narratives, the what ifs. Let your what ifs spin just a little bit of curiosity into that. Let your what ifs go in the other direction. I had my yearly physical or whatever, and I love my doctor. She's intuitive and she's holistic minded and open, and it's just a delight to see her once a year. And when I was checking out, the receptionist person was talking, I don't even know how we got to talking about it, but how she always has like a radio or the TV on, and she said, I like to know what's going on. And her friend had told her, because strangers always talk to me, she said whoever she was with was saying like, "Why do you really want that like in your ear all day long?" And she was like, well, I guess I don't, because it was starting to like affect how she felt. And I told her, you know, I actually do energy work, and you don't want that vibration in your ear, because it lowers your frequency, and then you don't feel so great. And she was like, I know, but like, I like knowing. And then she said, I like being the one to tell other people. And then in the same breath, and I know that that's like a thing I have to work on. And I was like, but what if you were the first one to tell people good stuff? And she paused, and that, like, I saw the shift happen immediately. And she was like, oh, well, that I think I would like that. And I was like, so you can still have a thing that you love, but shift it into like a curiosity. Like, what if I'm the first one to tell somebody about really cool, amazing things? You still get that kind of satisfaction, but you're also contributing to a higher frequency and a higher vibration that comes from you, ripples out, and then again, it'll start to shift your outer picture. So try to be curious and patient this first week, and be mindful of the stories you tell yourself, because that's what's weaving the spell to actually conjure up and create your reality. So hold this picture close. hold it close. And then moving into the second week, we have the Judgment card upside down. We have the Seven of Pentacles upside down. And then at the bottom here, we have this Queen of Pentacles right side up. So again, as we're moving through and out, that round and round is saying, like, you know, we're on the hamster wheel, but that Judgment card upside down, it's like, it's got to stop. Like, that's one of the things as a human collective, probably the biggest element that would benefit us as a whole is compassion and acceptance of truth as it is. And it doesn't mean that you have to, so funny, I was just talking to a friend about this earlier today. It doesn't mean that you have to invite everything in. Like, you can accept a truth and it can still live over there. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it's not for me, but I don't need it to be anything else other than it is, because we're all on a path of ascension and evolution one way or another. Everybody is on their own track. Everybody is humming along at their own frequency. So we just have to seek harmonics and accept where there is discord. It can just simply be discord. If it was a piano and you hit a wrong note, you would just choose another note. So choose another note, but do accept it. And it starts with yourself. You know, I'm moving through perimenopause symptoms right now. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's the definition, that face right there. And it's all this new weird stuff, and your body is like doing all sorts of weird stuff. And as somebody who was always healthy and active and didn't have to think too much about, you know, this physical form, now I'm like hyper aware of everything because you're uncomfortable all the time. And then you start to judge and compare. I don't look the way I used to look, or I don't feel the way, all of these things. But the more I lean into those, the more those symptoms and those feelings are exacerbated. They amplify, they become bigger, and it'll start to reflect back to me in other ways. But if I can go in and be like, you know what? I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. You're doing such a good job. You're going through massive change, and all things considered, you're kind of amazing. And also my connection to my body is pretty clear. So we're able to communicate, and I listen and I make adjustments and I move through the discomfort, but the judgment creeps in. And it's like we have to take the good with the bad, but it doesn't mean we have to take the bad in. But like, just let the bad be someone else's good. You know what I mean? Even if it's not good for us. The othering is a really harsh lens from which to view the world, because ultimately that comes from something in you that is likely buried. So it's easier to be like, ew, gross, why? Like, it's easier to other, that's not me. But you have to ask yourself, what is that trigger? And since we're going round and round, it's like, how can I start to move into acceptance? How can I have compassion? How can I see everyone as a fractal of source? So how can I see everyone as love, born of love? Ultimately in there somewhere is love. And if I have that love for myself, if I look in the mirror and I love myself and I see that spark in myself, that reflects out. People will respond to it. It'll light up that love in them, even if it's only in our interaction, and they can be complete trash around, you know, other people. But it just takes one interaction to shift a frequency to an offering of rolling out on that wave form instead of the one that we and they were on, if that makes sense. I know I'm getting a little more into kind of the quantum-y stuff that I do in a basic reading. Underneath that judgment is that Seven of Pentacles, and that Seven of Pentacles and it's upside down, so he's kind of like, what's the point? You know, like, you're judging everything, judging yourself, looking around, you're on the hamster wheel, you're tired, you're exhausted, like, what's the point? No matter what I do, it's still this, it's still whatever. But if you do what you did, you get what you got. So Start to do the things that light you up. And if you're in a situation where it's like, well, this is my job, or this is my this, start to find that, like, again, this card for me is always find the fun and snap, the job's a game. Like, it's Mary Poppins. What is your spoonful of sugar? What is it? Find it, take it, make everything fun, make it a dance party, make it something that can elevate the frequency of that situation in a way where if it needs to change, because guess what? It's likely going to, based on this, it has the capacity to do so because you're now vibrating at a frequency that demands it and commands it. So find the fun, because at the bottom sitting pretty is this Queen of Pentacles. So like, if you can take these first 2 weeks to be patient, get real clear on what you want and how you would like to see your life of like fulfillment and joy unfold. She's sitting at the bottom literally saying, like, she's a fat cat. She's like, you can have it all. You can be successful, you can be wealthy, you can be fulfilled, and it's all self-generated. It all comes from that place of like, you created it for yourself. So coming at the opposite end of that 10 of Cups, it's a really nice kind of, again, this is what I want, and there it is there. So, you know, do the thing. Because moving into the come to the edge, we have the 6 of Wands, we have the 2 of Cups reversed, and we have the 2 of Swords. So that Queen of Pentacles energy is going to roll into that 6 of Wands is success. So whatever it is you've got your eye on, it's something that is going to take you into that winner's circle. It is something that is going to up-level you. It's just going to be a win. Inside of that energy, there may be in the kind of aftermath of these first 2 weeks, it might be that you have to sever some ties, some relational ties. That 2 of Cups upside down is saying that there's some stuff that needs to kind of dissolve. And it doesn't necessarily mean like get a divorce or break up with your friends or whatever that is. Sometimes it has to do with inside of you. And likely, although it can be both, given everything that's here, that little kitty who's the nightmare kitty, like, and because this card falls in the same horizontal line as that, it's likely that kind of divorce has to come from that aspect of you who is the judge and who does run those fear narratives, because you cannot you can be brave and scared at the same time. That comes from that high stakes fight flight where it's like a survival thing. But when it comes to creation and creating your reality, if you're running scared, it's going to adversely affect the quality of what it is you're trying to manifest, and that's how you end up on the hamster wheel, where something will come along that will flip you back around, and that's when you get into that 7 of Pentacles. Oh, what's the point? Every time. So what is it that you have to change? It's Cups, it's emotion. You've got to go in and you've got to sever the ties with your fear narrative. You've got to take that shadow and you've got to love it into the light again. You have to acknowledge it and invite it to the table and let it know under no uncertain terms, is it the boss or the project manager of what it is that you're trying to create. Because that 2 of Swords right there with it, you have that double 2, it says there is some type of a stalemate, and swords are the mind. So again, this is leading me to think that in that 3rd week, you're at the edge. Success, it kind of echoes that first week. Like, here we are, success is kind of like, it's assured. Like, the picture's there, you can move towards it. But underneath it, you have to kind of get right in your own head. And if it is an outer relationship, you have to move past the stalemate. And if that means kind of putting down your sword and just walking away, or if it means cutting through, the crap so that you can move on, whatever that is, that's what's going to be required, because again, these higher vibrational timelines where we're manifesting more fluidly, more quickly, and more clearly, you can't take that baggage with you, because you can't manifest in that way. You cannot begin to create in that way if you're still that dense, if that makes sense. And so moving into the final week, we have that time to go, and right under it, which is perfect, is the Five of Cups upside down. And that Five of Cups is saying it is time to let, again, there's a lot of just let go of the old narrative, let go of the old stories. I just did a workshop last night, and one of the transmissions that had come through my guides right before it, which was kind of like this eye-opener to me, even though it seems to make perfect sense, is that you don't have to wear your scars like a badge of honor anymore. You don't need to tell the tale and look at and this is from that time and this is whatever. It's the point is to heal them over, because when you keep adding energy to them and keep wearing them like a badge, there's a resonance point that will continue to attract more of that energy to you. Whereas if you can heal it over and go, cool, that was something, and it was very challenging, but I moved through it, and I understand what I did. I see what I did there. I see what my soul did there. I see what I was meant to learn. So you can literally prune it off. And I know I've mentioned this before in other posts, I think, but when I do energy work with myself, I find that the things that were like big things, the kinds of things that would leave scars, when they clear, it's like they never happened. I have no memory of it. If I try to like use a story like as a frame of reference, and I go back to say, yeah, that time it's gone. Whatever the thing there's a couple of like kind of flagship ones that got me on this path. So they stick so that I can help share a story that will be resonant with somebody kind of newly stepping into quantum healing. But it goes away. And when it goes away, there's no need for it to magnetize to you in any other kind of lens or adjusted expression. Like you get the lessons, you get the love, you weave in that mastery, and you move on. So it's literally under time to go. So it's time to move on from the old stories, whatever they are, whatever those lower energy things are that keep you in a state of depression, fear, worry, judgment, anything that gets you feeling like prickly, you know what I mean? It's time to like heal it over and know that every soul here knows what it's doing, even if we don't think they do based on what their outer expression is through our lens. But every soul here has a plan, and it's not for us to judge. And when things come close to home, like if there is a big grief, like a death or a breakup or something like that, they can be hard. They are hard, I know from experience. But inside of every ending and every loss like that, I'll never forget when my dad passed away. It was the single hardest loss that I've experienced in my current life. In the same moment that the most intense grief I've ever felt just rocked my entire being, there was this release of this like euphoric almost freedom in the same moment. So inside of that loss, I could feel that he was giving me a great gift, even though I wouldn't be able to wrap my heart around it until I healed it from the very physical and human experience of the pain of the loss. So it takes as long as it takes, but the more you can flow with that process and not just stay in the energy of the moment that caused it, the sooner you can start to roll yourself out of it and see the gifts that are left for you in its wake, because there are always gifts. So trust in that. Because at the other side of that, we're going to create some, we got this little kitty and he's balancing. So change often brings with it a little bit of this, a little bit of this kind of vibe. So that card, that Two of Pentacles, is saying by the end of the month, things are going to start to feel like, whoa, now stuff is moving, but I'm like not necessarily on the most solid ground, and I'm happy it's moving, but like, whoa. So it'll be really important to calibrate that center. And how do we do that? We close with the High Priestess. You're balancing shadow and light, and everything you need to know is inside of you. So you need to like descend into your own depths so that you can find that true and sure divine deep rooting that comes from, like we said earlier, embracing the shadow, holding it close in full acceptance, loving it into the light, and then allowing that light to shine forth from within. And that is how you illuminate the path before you that you wish to take moving forward, which is really, really beautiful. So yeah, looks to be an interesting month this May as we move from very, very slow and plodding Taurus into Gemini. And Gemini wants to like know all the things, and it's air and it moves, and it's like, but really that knowing is only going to come from inside of you. And it's the same with, you know, the same woman I was talking to at my doctor's office. Anything in the outside world right now that's a part of the human collective kind of noise, if there is something of relevance to you, you'll know it. You don't need to keep tabs on every single solitary thing, because there's a very high contrast show that's happening right now that is not for everyone, but it is for those who still need to kind of shake themselves awake and see like, whoa, really? For those of us who already understand what this show is, our job is to anchor the light so that it can amplify as we each step into it and create a glow that then catches some of these newly awakening souls to go, what's that? That looks a little more interesting to me than whatever craziness is going on around us. So we need to find that, again, calibrate that center, go deep within, and allow that light that you generate to, again, illuminate the path forward, and also maybe invite others to start to wake up and trust in their own capacity to do the same. Okay? So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking. Have a beautiful month of May, and I will see you, I'm sure soon with other posts, but I'll see you next month with the June report with another deck. I wonder which one it will be. All right, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and just light up the world with your exuberance and your beauty. That's what it needs. Okay.